Okay, welcome back from the break. And where we stopped before the break was talking about Social Security benefit information. And here we're just focusing on outlining for you what Social Security information is on the EIV report. Please keep in mind that the information on this report comes directly from the Social Security Administration. And so you'll see a payment status code as well as the date of current entitlement date of the Social Security benefit information, along with the gross and net benefit amount that's payable and payee name and address, along with the benefit history, as I mentioned earlier. EIV is going to display the last 8 transactions or changes to the Social Security benefit information, including any lump sum payments and date of the lump sum payment. Here's an example of a Social Security benefit section on the EIV Income Report. Also, here's a screenshot, and I wanted to share this with you because a lot of people do not understand that when it says Social Security Medicare buy-in equals yes, typically that means that the listed insurance premium is being paid on behalf of the tenant by a third party. And typically what you will see is that the difference between the gross and the net benefit amount is equal to the actual listed insurance premium. So if the insurance premium is being paid on behalf of the tenant by a third party, you do not include that $96.40 or whatever the listed premium amount is, you do not include that in the calculation of your allowable medical expense deduction. So do also note, sometimes the difference between the gross and the net benefit amount is greater than the medical insurance deduction that is being deducted, and HUD does not have privy to the additional deductions being made out of the check, but do understand that there can be a deduction for child support or garnishment from the federal government, such as the IRS. Those amounts that are deducted, you cannot give a deduction for those. As outlined in PIH Notice 2010-3, you're always using the gross benefit amount for doing the income determination process. So this is just to let you know, if the Medicare buy-in says no, then what you should see is that the difference between the gross and the net is the actual insurance premium, and in which case you would actually include the $96.40 in the calculation of allowable medical expenses. Okay, and this is just a screenshot to show you the Medicare where it's no. And again, I apologize for these materials not being available, but if you're on the PIH-RHIIP mailing list, you will automatically receive these training materials once they are finalized. Okay, here's an example of a disallowed claim, and I just want to let folks know that Social Security gives us everything that's in their database with respect to a claim. And so sometimes your client will let you know that, particularly I have found in cases where I was interviewing a client, they come in and they say, well, you know, Ms. Faison, I don't receive any income. All I get is this $100 from my mama, and I'm trying to figure out how they living off $100 a month, and they got a car, and they got fancy clothes, and the hair's all done up, nails done. You ever see some of the designs on some folks' nails? I'm like, that design right there costs $5, and you got 10 of them. That's $50 just for designs. But nonetheless, they're like, well, you know, Ms. Faison, I'm waiting for my Social Security claim. You are? Well, this tells me that your claim has been denied, sugar. So don't fall for the okie doke. EIV is going to tell you what the status is of the claim. So if they say they got a claim pending, you should see a pending claim in there, okay? So just want to alert you to some information that's available to you in EIV. You just might not notice it. Here's another one. I love this one. This is a child beneficiary who is no longer eligible for Social Security benefits, okay? Now, if this money has been coming in the household all along and now, you know, Junior is 18, not going to school, you might want to ask Junior a couple questions, because we know typically today's young people, they are into exactly everything. They into everything. So in order for you to be into everything, you got to have some money. And you know, that one lady, I forget her name, you know, you gotta have a J-O-B. Wanna be with me? Yeah, ain't nothing going on but the rent. So guess what? You're no longer getting this Social Security benefit for little Junior. Is Junior what? Working? Because if he's working, I need to know about it, okay? So be aware of certain messages that's in the EIV system alerting you to stop Social Security benefits, because you might want to ask a couple more questions. So as you can see, EIV is going to give you something to talk about. All right, dual entitlement. We talked about this briefly. This section of the report in EIV will give you the claim number. Remember I mentioned earlier, the claim number is the claimant's Social Security number in which the person is eligible for benefits under. So the claim number is an actual Social Security number. And it's the full Social Security number. So you have to ensure that when you're printing these EIV income reports, if it has dual entitlement information, you need to ensure that this information is safeguarded because it has a person's full SSN. Now, if they're a deceased individual, you know, it doesn't matter. They tell me, you know, deceased people, and if you go online to SSA website, if you want to know anything about a deceased person, you can actually get that information about the deceased person because they're deceased. But if they're living, a person is afforded privacy. So the dead have no more privacy rights. So the claim number is on there. The payment status code associated with the dual entitlement, along with the date of current entitlement, net monthly amount if payable, the payee name and address, and benefit history is listed in dual entitlement. And this is an example of dual entitlement because I know there's some of you out there, I don't know what Nicole is talking about. I've never seen dual entitlement in EIV to date. Well, it does exist. And again, EIV, unfortunately, is not a be-all to end-all. But we do get dual entitlement. As I mentioned earlier, we are working on making sure that we're getting all the dual entitlement information processed. And again, if it's not available, then you pursue the verification the traditional way via PIH Notice 2010-3. Here's another example of dual entitlement. But this one is interesting because this one says that the person is no longer eligible for the dual entitlement because they're eligible for benefits under something else. You might not know about that. So you might want to ask them, hey, what's that other benefit you're entitled to? Okay, here's an example of dual entitlement, but the benefits are not paid. And I know you can't really see that, but when you get the live training materials, you'll be able to see it clear. But when benefits are not paid, EIV will indicate benefits not paid. Medicare data, we just kind of went over this, but it does give you the Medicare premium insurance information as well as payee name and address. The premium amount for the hospital and supplemental insurance is available, and then your buy-in status, yes or no, and the start and end dates of the buy-in. Your SSI benefits, again, outlining for you the actual payment status code, the alien indicator, as well as the current SSI amount that's paid, along with the payee name and address and benefit history. And then this indicator on the EIV report, disability. Now this is a little tricky, but I'm going to talk about it in just a second. On the report, there's a section that says disability, and it'll say yes or no or Y or N. And then sometimes it'll have an onset date of disability. Do not use this section for verification of disability if there is no current paid disability benefit amount, because sometimes things change and the data just hasn't been updated. It may be at some point in time, let's say hypothetically they were receiving a disability payment from SSA, and then it has down at the bottom, disability, yes, onset date, May 5th, 1975. But as of today, there is no disability benefit being paid and hasn't been paid for years. That disability indicator probably should say no because they have stopped paying disability for some reason. So you can't rely on the disability yes as a sure mechanism of giving the allowable $400 deduction for a disabled head of household or spouse. So you need to make sure that if you see 0 paid disability benefits, but you see disability as yes, just ask the client if they are still disabled, and then they would need to provide you with documentation from a doctor indicating that they meet the federal definition of disability if they're not receiving a federal or state paid disability benefit. And this is just a screenshot of the example showing that the disability is yes. Okay, now I want to show you how to access EIV information in batch or by BioReExamination month. This is allowing you to access information for multiple households at one point in time, and you have the ability to generate income reports for a specific program type. Either you can do all programs or just the public housing or the housing choice voucher or Section 8 program. Then you also have the ability to choose from re-exam months. So you can either choose all or you can choose a specific month from January through December. And then your PHA code is automatically populated in the drop-down menu. If you have multiple PHAs assigned to your user ID, then you would see all of the PHAs listed in the box. And this basically, when you're doing batch income reports, it also gives you the ability to see various reports, and these are listed here. You have access to your failed verification report, your income discrepancy report, your no income report, your new hires report, all at the click of one summary report screens. All the reports are printer friendly and downloadable into Excel with the exception of your income reports. Your income reports cannot be downloaded into Excel. They're only printer-friendly version reports. And then you have page tabs which allow you to easily access between the summary reports and the detail reports that are available for each one of those reports for multiple families. And then this is just an example to show you when you go into EIV, again, everything is on your left navigation panel, your functions for EIV. Simply click on the BioReExamination month, and you'll notice here you have the ability to select all programs or a specific program, the re-exam month, and your PHA code is pre-populated. And then here's a listing of all the reports available, and of course the report that you're trying to get to is the income report because you're doing annual re-exams or interim re-exams. And so you'll simply click on the income report link, and then again, notice, and I talked about this yesterday, a new feature in EIV is that you now have the ability to access reports by the head of household's last name. So if you only want the A's, you'll get the A's. And when you click on to this page, the listing of families displayed is defaulted for families whose last name begins with A. So don't be alarmed when you get to this page and you say, wait a minute, my summary report said I had 500 reports, but I only see 2 names here. These are just the A's. So if you want to see all the reports, then you have to click on all. And then here's your detailed income report. Notice that in the blue box here, you can print the reports, just the reports, in a printer-friendly version, print basically 50 reports at one time, or you can print the report with the optional certification page. If you're going to use the certification page in your process, you can actually now get a new window that opens up with the income report, and the certification page is the last page of the income report for the household. And then here's your summary income discrepancy report. Keep in mind, I'm basically going down the list of reports that are available from that main page of your summary reports. And again, you can easily maneuver from summary reports to detail reports. Your details income discrepancy report outlines the family discrepancy, and we're going to talk about the income discrepancy in just a moment. Your failed verification report is going to identify any tenant with an invalid Social Security number, name, or date of birth, and it's going to identify any deceased household members. You want to use your failed verification report to follow up with tenants who have some issues being reflected. But again, if you never click on the failed verification report, all of these indicators of potential problems are on the income report. And that's why I keep saying you never have to run any of the standalone reports from either the left navigation panel or from the batch or BioReExamination month, because when you look at the income report, all of that information that's on the standalone reports are reflected on the household report. So to be honest with you, if it were me, I would keep it stupid simple, KISS, and just basically work off of the income report. Leave the standalone reports to your staff that are doing monitoring or QA or what have you, because it'll make the day a lot smoother for you, because you're already going to be working with the client, doing the re-exam or interim re-exam, and you've got everything right there on the income report. So there's no need for, oh, wait a minute, let me get my income discrepancy report and see if Mary's on this report. Let me get this report and see if Mary's on that one. You don't need all those reports. You need one report to do your job effectively, and that's the EIV income report. So I'm just showing you how to work smart, work smarter and not harder, because we got a lot of things to do with the housing authority. So stop wasting your time on things that are unnecessary. All right, the no income report. I'm not sure why we put this in there, but this is just a report to let you know that here are the families where every single household member, our data sources said there's no income being reported under those SSNs. This is not a report that says, oh, these are families with no income, because we all know in the real world that does not exist. There's no such thing as no income. Now, I know I had a client, he never worked an official job, but he had his little hustle going on, and I'm not mad at him, because he worked every day honestly, washing cars. He had that bucket and that old rag and some soap and water, and that's what he did. So, you know, his annual was a little easy to do, because he's like, well, you know, Miss Faison, I only washed 10 cars last month. I'm like, look, you walked right outside my window, and I saw more than 10 cars pull through there. But, I don't have time to be counting cars, but, that's why I said, these programs really rely on the integrity of the family to disclose information. And by the way, newsflash, EIV does not capture under-the-table income, okay? Unfortunately, EIV is only capturing employment that's on the table, on the books. So, Becky that's, doing hair out of her kitchen, there's no way to validate that in EIV. Judy that's, set up a pharmaceutical business, it's not CVS, but, she's got shop down on the corner. That's not going to be an EIV, not never, okay? And most likely, Judy is not reporting that information to the IRS. So those of you that are out in California, I know y'all got that legal marijuana. It's still considered a controlled dangerous substance, so federal government doesn't recognize, legalization of marijuana. But some of y'all need to check some of your clients, because they running legitimate marijuana shops. And I don't know if you saw on Dateline, you can go and they got like barbecue marijuana. You can get like flavored marijuana. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. So it was a little lady, she came in. She's like, I'm here to get my marijuana for my glaucoma. I think this time I'll go with strawberry shortcake. Y'all got that? Then the man gave her a menu. These are new flavors. I don't know. Maybe the federal government might have to say, you know what? We're going to legalize this and get some money out of this. IRS want their cut, but I'm not an advocate for IRS or anything like that. I work for HUD, so these are just jokes. I'm not taking a position on one way or the other than that HUD does not recognize, we can't recognize marijuana as a legitimate drug, because the federal law says that marijuana is a CDS, controlled dangerous substance. So even though you got a prescription to can't do it in public housing or housing choice voucher program. All righty, so let's keep it moving on to the new hires report. I love the new hires report. The new hires, again, as I mentioned, is a report where HUD requests the last 2 years of new hire information. It's useful for identifying tenants who have started a new job. And again, I can't emphasize enough, it is imperative that you educate your clients about reporting income, what's to be reported, when it's to be reported. If you have an interim increase policy, you need to make sure your clients understand when they have to report. So the new hires report, I love it because it creates an environment where you are informed that your client has started a new job, and so this information is updated monthly. And the reason why I love it is because some of your clients have selective amnesia. And they started the new job, and they forget to tell you. Some of y'all got some harsh policies. I couldn't even be a participant at your agency. You tell me I got to report my change in income within 10 days. I'm like, 10 days? I mean, golly, that's kind of short. But if you got 30 days, I mean, that's pretty reasonable. But if you haven't gotten our new hires letter, I will send it to you if you ask for it. I can't remember if we have it posted to the HUD website, but it's a tool for you to do proactive outreach to your clients to let them know that you know they got a job. And so it's a very, informative letter. Dear Bob, congratulations on your new job. Please be advised that if you have not already reported this to us, please make an appointment immediately to discuss this matter with us. Did you know that you might be eligible for the Earned Income Disregard? We want to encourage people. There are incentives for working families, and most people, they say, girl, don't you go in there and tell them you started that job at the Piggly Wiggly, because you know when your income go up, your rent go up. But let them know that you know that they got a job. Encourage them to come in because it's going to save you administrative burden on the front end, because it's so much easier to just bring them in the first 30 days than to wait to the next annual, because remember, you're going to be looking at the EIV income report and you say, wait a minute, you just started a job on September the 17th. You didn't report that. If you have an interim increase policy, you might want to run this report, on a monthly or every 2 months to see that your clients are coming in. And if they're not coming in, then you know that you need to do some outreach. Now I want to focus on the multiple subsidy report and understanding how you can utilize this report to identify households who may be receiving multiple rental assistance, either in the PIH rental assistance program or the multifamily housing program, or some of your clients, they have got game. They got the summer house up in Maine and the winter place down in Florida. Okay, they got a public housing unit over here, and they got a voucher over here. Now, if you're paying attention, and if it's happening within your agency, you need to check it. Because, see, some of your tenants, they leave the public housing program, and they go and they get their voucher, okay? And see, if y'all, got that little vendor software, when you go to punch in Social Security number, it'll say, this Social Security number already exists. Do you want to see where? And I always say yes, because, I was the investigator at my housing authority. Come to find out, my tenant, Monique, she got a voucher, moved into the place. So I'm like, well, who on earth is in her public housing unit? Girlfriend is subleasing the unit. But see, I'm a Gemini, so there's two of us. It's Nicole and Sybil. So Sybil said, Nicole, go on over there and give the ladies at the front desk a little note that when somebody come in to pay the rent on Monique's unit, to have them come see the manager. So person came in to pay the rent. I said, hi, Monique. Oh, I'm not Monique. I'm Sherry. Oh, so Sherry, you paying the rent today? Yeah. And you know what? I need some maintenance in my unit. Oh, well, come on in. Let me get a photocopy of your driver's license, and I'll do a maintenance work order. So you know what I'm doing. I'm collecting information for my case. Oh, since you got your money order, I'll go in and give you a receipt for that. Photocopy the money order, Sherry Smith in Monique's unit. So we go on and take the rent and everything. So then what I do is I send a 30-day notice to Monique, letting her know that we're terminating the public housing lease. And of course, the letter goes to the address where Sherry is living, So Sherry gonna come in talking about, what's this letter all about? Oh, I'm sorry, you're not the tenant. There's no conversation between the two of us. So then Nicole, comes back on the scene. It's like, well, in accordance with 24 CFR 960, blah, 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 it's gonna terminate your assistance. You can't have both. It's one or the other. And guess what? When you took that voucher, you made your choice to give up the public housing unit. So I need the public housing unit so I can make it available for the next available family. So, of course, when we show up to court, then I've got all my evidence, photocopy of Sherry's driver's license, Exhibit A. Exhibit B, the money order, yada, yada. Again, we have to take ownership of our programs and not allow folks to run game on our programs. So the multiple subsidy report is going to identify for you the head of household social security number, last name, the program type, the relationship, because it's basically going to outline who is showing up twice in the rental assistance program, the PHA code where they're at, okay, the project code if applicable, the unit address. So you're going to get all this information. Whether it's PIH multifamily housing, you're going to be able to see where they're living. Okay, then you have search criteria within either the PIH program, and we are going to be modifying the multiple subsidy search feature, because right now if you search by PIH programs only, it's going to show you hits only within PIH. So basically that's going to show you somebody who's either got 2 public housing units or a public housing unit and a voucher. And then if you search within PIH and multifamily housing, it's going to show you subsidy within PIH and multifamily housing. So it's going to be either a voucher and project-based Section 8 or public housing project-based Section 8. It's going to show you 1 hit on PIH side, 1 hit on multifamily housing side, but we're going to change that in April, and it's going to basically not limit the results. So when you run that report, if they got 5 different transactions and it's across the 2 programs, you're going to see all of it. Because right now, because people are like, well, wait a minute, I found out they got 3. Boy, can I just say this for the folks that are watching, because your tenants are watching this show, okay? You can only get assistance once. You cannot have a voucher in public housing. Now, you can use a housing choice voucher in a project-based Section 8 property. However, you cannot receive 2 benefits at the same time. So you get it once and only once. There are many people in need of assistance. So if you are a double dipper getting assistance in more than once, then PHAs are encouraged to be proactive. And like I tell you, don't waste your time calling the other PHA or calling the other property. You're like, well, can you take them off the records on your side? When I was at Baltimore, I didn't even get into all that, because like I said, I just send out the notice, termination notice, and keep it moving and move on, because I know eventually they're out. I'm not going back and forth trying to figure out, well, which one you want? You want public housing? You want Section 8? You want the project-based Section 8, or you want the public housing? I don't have time for all that. But you all have to do what's in the best interest of your communities, what works best in your region, okay? All righty, and then also we added this new feature last year where now you can search for all household members or just adults only who might be receiving multiple assistance, and then you have a children-only search feature. And the reason we did this is because oftentimes there were children that were showing up in 2 households, and it's not uncommon for children to be split between parents or what have you. Just remember, you only get the 480 deduction once, okay? So, folks say, well, how do I figure out who gets it? Most people, they just use the rule of thumb that whoever's claiming them on the taxes, that's who's going to get the 480 deduction, but they got to work that out between the 2 of them and come to the table and have it worked out. Because don't look at me, tell me, well, you figure it out, Miss Faison. That's your children and that's your husband, spouse, or whatever. Y'all figure that out. Okay, plus the other thing, our OIG actually uses this children-only search because they use it to identify children who may have been abducted. And they have actually found some children where the non-custodial parent came and kidnapped them, and they went and got subsidy and little juniors with the non-custodial parents. And so That's why we put in this feature to help our OIG, because they do have an emphasis on identifying children that may be missing. And accessing the multiple subsidy report, very simplistic. And again, you're always clicking on the left navigation panel on EIV, and then this is your search screen. You wouldn't see the top portion, which is a HUD level user within the field office, but you do have the ability to search for these folks using a report, and you will get anybody who's in your agency who is showing up anywhere in the United States and U.S. territories. You can actually identify those individuals by running this report. And then this is just a summary multiple subsidy report, which just lists all the households and the number of subsidies that are reported for the household. And in this case, everybody has 2. So that means they're in PIH and multifamily housing, or PIH and PIH. This is a detailed multiple subsidy report. Again, it outlines for you the details, who and where. Now, you can have some false positives from this report, and this does occur if you do not update your 50058. So like, for example, if you had a client who actually turned in keys, vacate notice, or gave you a notice that they were leaving the voucher program or what have you, and you just hadn't done the EOP transaction, remember, EIV is looking at PIC and TRAX. TRAX is the multifamily housing system, and it's looking at the 50058s and the 50059s. And they're looking for the same Social Security number, and if there is 2 active 58s or 59, then it's going to flag them on the report. So you need to make sure that if you know that someone has moved out, go on and do the EOP 58. The second scenario is where you have a family who's using their housing choice voucher at a project-based Section 8, and I think I have an example of that. But as I mentioned earlier, it's not uncommon for someone to get a voucher and use that voucher at a project-based Section 8 or a multifamily housing complex, just as long as they're not getting any other benefit. And typically what you'll see is the address listed for the voucher and the address listed at the project-based Section 8 unit, they're identical. That's how you know that there is no issue, because it's the same address. Now, if you see 123 Main Street for the voucher, and then you see a project-based Section 8 at 753 Poplar Grove, then you know you have an issue. And then these are an example showing a false positive where you, this is the other thing I meant to mention. This is a false positive because the family composition had not been updated. So you have a scenario where member number 3 decides, look, Mom, I can't stay here with you no more. I'm going to get my own place. So they leave, but maybe your family didn't report that to you, or they reported to you, but you haven't updated the family composition to remove Becky off of the family composition. So you can have a scenario where you'll see, like, member number 3 is a member of one household, and then she's the head of household at a new unit. So when you see that same name as a head of household and as an other adult on another line item, typically they have left one of those units. It just hasn't been reported on the 5.8. And then this is another false positive. This is, again, showing you an example where it's the same address. They're using the housing choice voucher at the project-based Section 8. Also, again, you never have to pull the multiple subsidy report. As long as you're using the EIV income report, you will know, because see that red print? And it's in blue highlight. It's letting you know the member may be receiving multiple assistance. Anytime you see red on EIV, you got to have a conversation, or you got to send a letter, because it's letting you know that there's a potential issue. Okay, what to do if there's a match? First and foremost, update the family composition on the 5.8 if necessary. The only way you're going to know to update the 5.8 composition is to talk with your client. And then let them know, hey, it appears that you're receiving multiple assistance. What's the story here? And they will tell you what's going on. Give the tenant an opportunity to explain or provide documentation to support what they're saying to you. Perhaps, like you said, you had member number 3 move out. Oh, I'll be more than happy to take them off your family composition. I just need a copy of the lease or a copy of the utility bill or a copy of vehicle registration at another address. Again, your agency's policy is going to dictate how you remove people from family composition. I know at our agency we required documentation because, you know, some of your clients, they're going to be trying to remove people from family composition because they started working. Oh, well, you know, Junior, he's grown up now. He don't live here anymore. He done got his own job. Okay, not a problem. I can take him off the family composition upon receipt of a lease, bank statement, driver's license showing the new address where he lives. Okay, but again, that's your policy. If it becomes necessary, maybe they move from one housing authority to another, they move from one state to another, they should have some type of documentation to support that. If you need to, you can call the housing authority. The phone number is actually listed on the multiple subsidy reports, and then you can just take action in accordance with your agency's policy. Now, your existing tenant search is basically searching for applicants or existing tenants to see if they have multiple rental assistance. And so this is like kind of like how to actually screen applicants to see if they're already being assisted. Because we all know that with the application process, you ask a lot of yes and no questions. And so some people, they'll tell you, girl, just check no to everything. Because, you know, the questions are written in a way that if you check yes, then you have to explain and you got to provide documentation. So, you know, a lot of times people don't read. So, you know, if you all were to change and rewrite the questions in a manner so that they really should be answering yes rather than no, then you really would have a whole lot of conversation, okay? But don't nobody go and do that, because the minute they say, that Miss Faison, she told us to do that. This is just a screenshot to show you the existing tenant search. When you put in a Social Security number and there's a negative result, it'll tell you no records found for the Social Security number ending in the last 4 digits. And this is what you should keep in the applicant's file so that you can document that you checked them before you admitted them into the program and you've confirmed that they're not receiving any assistance. Now, on the flip side, here is a positive search results. Oh, wait a minute. Lorraine, you said you didn't know nothing about the Housing Choice Voucher Program. There's a record here that says that you reside at 123 Main Street under the Housing Choice Voucher Program in Alabama. Care to elaborate? Just a selective amnesia. Forgot that they were living in another place. Okay, your identity verification report. Again, this kind of is a repeat of what we discussed earlier about the whole identity validation process. This report is going to identify any household where a household member has failed the EIV PreScreening, failed SSA identity test, or they are pending verification. And this report has actually had a complete overhaul because if you remember the old version of the report back in February '09, it was just a bunch of statistics on the page, and you guys were like, look, I need to know who's pending verification. I need to know who failed pre-screening and who failed the SSA identity test. So we actually re-engineered this report to allow for you to indicate, hey, show me for my program type or re-examination month who has failed. And so you actually are required under PIH Notice 2010-19 2010-19 to review and monitor this report. But again, if you're using the EIV Income Report, you will automatically be catching these issues with people who have failed the identity validation process. And again, very simple to access the report, clicking on the identity verification report and giving your, specifying your search criteria enables you to be able to do your search. And then this is the new look and feel in case you haven't seen it. Notice that there's 3 tabs at the top. The burgundy tab is what page you're on, and your failed EIV pre-screening will show everybody who's failed the pre-screening. Then you click on the next tab, and you'll see the ones who are actually failed the SSA identity test. I put this slide in here to outline the error descriptions for the failed EIV pre-screening. And actually, let me just go back a link. If you notice the very last link on this page, it's an error description help. And when you click on that, it displays these error messages, and it has the long and the short version of the error message, so you know exactly why your client has failed EIV PreScreening, okay? And most of these are, the ones that fail PreScreening are those who have an alternate ID, which if they're not an eligible citizen or eligible non-citizen, then there's really nothing you can do, because those individuals most likely will, your eligible non-citizen, your eligible citizens should have SSN, so you should be following up with them. However, for those who do not have eligible citizenship and eligible non-citizenship status, then you know those individuals most likely do not have an SSN. The common error that pops up is that your 5/8 is older than 15 months, okay? So you need to make sure that you're submitting your 5/8 in a timely manner. PIH Notice 2010-25, I believe that was issued during the month of July by HUD's Office of Public Housing and Voucher Programs, reminding PHAs that you're required to submit your 5/8 and you have to submit them no later than 60 days from the effective date. So you want to make sure you're doing that. And again, remember, no 5/8, no EIV, so make sure you have that. And this is your failed SSA identity test. These are the folks we've sent to SSA. SSA says they failed because their social security number is wrong, or their name is wrong, or their date of birth is wrong. See how simple these reports are? They're self-explanatory, so we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on them. Now we're up to the income discrepancy report. Now I'm going to be honest with you. This report really was generated for HUD staff use, but I'm going to explain to you what this report is. It basically is a report that identifies individuals whose PIC reported and EIV reported income, there's a difference of $2,400 or greater. And in plain layman's term, what the system is doing is it's identifying households where there may be instances of substantial underreporting of income. So if the annual income discrepancy is equivalent to $2,400 or greater annually, those families will fall on this report. But again, if you're using the EIV income report and you're reconciling and making sure that you're aware and you have your 5/8 reflecting complete and accurate wage, unemployment, Social Security information, your discrepancies are probably going to be minimal. Okay, and a lot of housing authorities, they have zero income discrepancies because they're doing a bang-up job. I travel a lot, so I get to hear a lot of stories and a lot of processes at housing authorities, and I love the state of Texas because that state down there, they are very aggressive. And so the minute that somebody gets a job, they are right on it. The minute that somebody has, a substantial income discrepancy, they're bringing that client in and they're resolving it right then and there. And so Texas, you guys, and some of the policies I've seen, I'm like, y'all go. Go Texas. Love it. Okay, so your report, again, you have the ability to always, all your reports in EIV, you can search by program type, re-exam month, but there's a search criteria that's not available in any other reports. The income discrepancy report has what we call a threshold level. And that threshold level really is nothing more than the percentage of unreported income. And so the threshold, you can choose a percentage as low as 5% or as high as 100%. But we encourage you to run the report at the 100% threshold level and work your way down. The higher the threshold, the more likely there is an instance of a valid income discrepancy, and I'll just explain what a valid income discrepancy is in a moment. So you'll get more bang for the buck if you focus at the 100% threshold level, if you're going to look at the report at all. But again, you're required to monitor this report on a quarterly basis. Again, the operative word being monitor. If you're using the EIV income report during your annuals and interim re-exams, you will actually find the individuals who are not reporting income. And then this is just a screenshot of your report selection. This is the top portion of your report showing you your statistics for your agency, the percentage and dollar amount of unreported income. And then notice all those little numbers down there. You get to focus on, if you click on one of those, you can look at, say you only want to look at income discrepancies that are $10,000 to $15,000. Well, those various links there allow for you to specify a dollar amount threshold by which you want to look at income discrepancies. The bottom portion of the report identifies the households and the dollar amount of potentially unreported income. This is your detailed, or actually your summary level, tenant level income discrepancy. And basically, it's showing you what was reported on the 5/8. And let me just emphasize, the amount reported on the 5/8 is not the total household income. It is only the total PIC reported wages, unemployment, and Social Security benefit information. So wages, unemployment, Social Security benefits, those are the only income sources it's pulling from Section 7 of the 5/8, and it's comparing it to wages, unemployment, and Social Security in EIV. Because if we took the total annual income reported on the 5/8, you would always have an income discrepancy. So we're comparing apples with apples, wages, unemployment, Social Security on the 5/8 form, wages, unemployment, Social Security on the EIV report. And then it's basically subtracting the difference from PIC, and I believe I have a screenshot to show you in just a minute the actual algorithm. But the way I tell people, if you want to read this report, this is how you read it. Notice there are two columns with dollar amounts. The first column being what we call actual annualized income discrepancy. And what the system has done is it's calculated the actual discrepancy between PIC reported and EIV reported information at the time that you did the last annual reexamination. So what the system basically is telling you is that if you had EIV information at the last annual reexam, this is what should have been reported. The second column is telling you this is what we project will be the future unreported income if you ignore the fact that income was not reported in the past. And so the two numbers there basically is past actual income discrepancy. The second column is future projected income discrepancy. And if you're a PHA that has an interim increase policy, you'll want to pay attention to the numbers, particularly if the numbers in the second column are greater than the numbers in the first column. That lets you know that the family had an increase in their income that may not have been reported at the last annual re-exam. So, but rather than get into the logistics of this report, just use your EIV income report to identify disparities between tenant reported and EIV reported information, and you can't go wrong. But we're going to still go through the income discrepancy analysis, what's going on behind the scenes. It's PIC minus EIV divided by EIV equals the actual discrepancy amount. That's algebraic number 3, okay? So PIC minus EIV divided by EIV, and then the actual percentage result will determine whether or not the family will actually go on the report. So family will go on the report. If you select the threshold of 100%, anybody who exceeds or meets the 100% will be on the report. Let's say you chose a threshold of 20%. When you do the math, if it comes out to 20% or greater and $2,400 or greater, then the family will show up on the report. And I've actually kind of explained this. This is the detailed analysis, and I explained to you how there's two numbers. There's two numbers, other two numbers. One number is in bold. The number that is in bold is the larger discrepancy of the two. This report also, keep in mind that if the second number is lower than the first number, so the past was 10,000, the future is 5,000. What does that mean? They had a decrease, exactly. They had a decrease in the income, so either they lost some income or they've had a decrease in their hours or what have you. So that's how you kind of interpret the numbers if you're an analytical type individual. But again, just focus on the income report and you can't go wrong. Okay, and we've discussed that already. Now, here's the key. Most of you say, okay, is this discrepancy valid or invalid? And so one of the things you have to take into consideration with any discrepancy, when did the income start and when did it stop? Okay, that is instrumental in determining whether or not you have an issue on your hands. If the income started after the annual re-exam was done and you don't have an interim increase policy, then you know that's an invalid income discrepancy because they're not required to report the income in between annuals. However, on the flip side, if they started a job and they were working that job at the time you were doing the re-exam or after the re-exam and you require the family to report change in income, then you know that you and Lillian are going to have a conversation. So the effective dates of the income that went unreported is the very first thing that you need to do to determine whether or not you have an issue on your hands. We mentioned this. Do you have an interim increase policy? If yes, guess what? You're going to have a discrepancy all the time because they have to report. Now, I said this yesterday. If you have an interim increase policy, however, you don't change the family's rent contribution in between re-exams, I strongly encourage you to have your staff stop wasting time collecting paperwork if you're not going to do anything with the paperwork. Because I have talked with a lot of agencies, and they're like, Ms. Faison, can you help us? Because HUD says we got to do this interim policy. And I said, no. HUD says that you, the PHA, establish the policy. You have to have a policy to deal with decreases. You don't have to have one for increases. The regulations nor the statute require an interim increase policy, but you have the discretion to implement one. But my thing is, why do you have an interim increase policy and you make the family come in and provide? Okay, thanks for coming and bringing this documentation and taking a day off from work to come in here. We're not doing nothing but put this in the file. Now you got to sit and track down paper, and then hopefully, remembering at the next go-around, make sure the papers are still in the file. But again, since you got EIV, you'll be able to see those, changes in legitimate employment. But just think about that. Okay, your valid income discrepancies are those discrepancies where the family has failed to report the income in accordance with your interim increase policy, or in situations where they didn't report income that they were receiving at the time of doing the annual reexamination. So those are very straightforward. Those are valid income discrepancies. They were required to report, they didn't report. Here's an example. Mr. Jones reports he has no income but fails to report that he is employed at McDonald's. So whether he intentionally or unintentionally didn't report, the bottom line is it wasn't reported. And as I mentioned yesterday when we were talking about repayment agreements, there are no amnesty programs. So you can't say, well, Mr. Jones, it's okay. You're a nice guy. It's no big deal that you report. We'll just add that income going forward. Doesn't work that way. Your invalid income discrepancies are those discrepancies where there is no tenant error, okay? Situations where maybe the housing authority made an error, and let me say this. If the tenant came in and gave you documentation and you dropped the ball and you forgot to count that income and then you realized it later on, you can't charge that tenant retroactive for your error. Now, if you do, you're going to have legal aid knocking on your door. So I just want to make sure you understand, if you, the PHA, made an error, you can fix the error going forward, but you cannot hold the tenant liable for what they should have been paying if you made an error. The second scenarios are your administrative circumstances, which I mentioned earlier, like, for example, having an interim increase policy or having no interim increase policy and the family's not required to report, or there may be an invalid income discrepancy because the third-party data source made an error, and that happens, and we discussed that yesterday. So if you missed that session, we're not going to talk about it today, but because it was covered. I don't want to waste anybody's time, okay? Here's some common PHA errors. Remember I said earlier that your income discrepancies are calculated based on information reported on the 5/8. So if you make an error on your 5/8 form, you will have an income discrepancy. And these are some of the common errors where you listed the income amount incorrectly. Maybe you put 1,000 and 1,000 really should have been 10,000. Or perhaps you miscoded wages. You coded wages as general or TANF or something other than wages. Remember, EIV is looking for wages, unemployment, Social Security benefits, okay? Or maybe you just omitted the income altogether. You just forgot to put the whole wage amount on there. And so if there's no wage on there and there's wage in EIV, there will be an income discrepancy. Your administrative circumstances, no interim increase policy. You had a client who had a recent decrease in their income. Remember, EIV, when it does its calculations, it's always looking backwards. EIV doesn't know that Mary just lost her job last month, so as long as you've got a current 5/8 reflecting the decreased income, then you can say, hey, this income discrepancy is invalid because my client had a recent decrease in their income, which is clearly documented in my 5 folder. Third-party reporting errors, again, if the employer makes an error reporting wage information or if the SSA information is incorrect, then you will have a discrepancy. And again, the way incorrect EIV information is corrected, it's corrected by the source and not by HUD, not by the PHA. Your income discrepancy resolution process is nothing more than discussing with the tenant this discrepancy, providing an opportunity for them to obtain documentation to present to you to validate their dispute or to solidify that, in fact, they did not report income. And so, again, you'll want to verify the effective dates of that unreported income to determine whether or not there's going to be an issue. And one of the things that I love to do, this is a great tool that I used when I was doing annuals and re-exams. You know, sometimes it's very cumbersome to calculate retroactive rents. But if you have a scenario where the family was working and was always working and never reported the working or the wage earned, I love to use the SSA Form 7004 form. It looks like this. And you may want to download this. And it's on the HUD website. It's on SSA's website. I use this form to get back this lovely form, which is a listing from the time an individual started working up until the most recent tax year of all earned income reported under the SSN. So I had a case when I worked at Gilmore Homes where Miss Morton had not reported all of her income. She had been working at the local hospital for the last 5 years, and we didn't have EIV back then. So you know how we found out she was working? She slipped up. She came in to pay her rent one day, and Miss Watson saw her, and she said, oh, you know, Miss Day, since you here in the office, you know, your annual re-exam is coming up, so can you sign these standard forms? And I'll just, you know, we had a little traditional third-party verification form. And she said, well, okay, Miss Watson, but let's hurry up because I got to go to work. Now, me knowing my clients the way I know my clients, I was like, Miss Day doesn't work anywhere. She's on Social Security. So when Ms. Watson heard her say work, she said, oh, well, just give me your work phone number and fax, and I'll fax the verification form over. So the job faxed the form back, confirming that she had been working for the last 5 years. And so Ms. Watson said, you know, Nicole, I never done a retro. Can you help me? So I looked at it. I said, look, I'll do this one for you. That woman owed $26,000 in retroactive rent. So you know what I did, right? Well, you know, Nicole, you know, pulled out the regulations and you know, but Sybil, on the other hand, she was like, Miss Day, look, I'm gonna give you 30 days off, unofficially 30 days, just go and find somewhere else to move and just pack up and go on about your business. And if you don't leave in 30 days, then Nicole is gonna send out an official notice of termination. $26,000, how do you pay that back? But nonetheless, this is what I used to calculate her retro. Because she was like, well, you know, Miss Faison, I got all my pay stubs at home in a shoebox, and you can just pick out the pay stubs that I would have given to you at each annual re-exam. Oh, no. I said, nope, just sign this SSA 7004 form, and we'll keep it moving. Now, my favorite report, the deceased tenants report. You all know how to use this report, but I still want to go through it just to make sure that you're aware of the new functionality in EIV that allows for you to search by deceased single-member households or all deceased households. Here's your selection criteria. This is a report for a housing authority, and I believe I covered it up. I did. You got dead people, so you need to make this report zeros. And so we discussed yesterday how you do that, following up with the family, maybe sending a letter, Dear John, it appears you're no longer with us. If you are with us, please let us know. And please let me share this with you. SSA does make some errors sometimes. So if you saw Miss Flossie walking her little pet poodle yesterday and she's on your deceased tenants report, you need to tell her to get to SSA really, really fast, because when they mark you dead, it's almost like you're dead, because your bank account gets shut down, your credit cards get shut down, and you know the little lady, she just learning how to work the ATM card, and she go to the Giant to go buy some groceries, and I don't know why this thing keeps saying decline, because you're dead. So she needs to go to SSA and have SSA fix the issue, okay? And then this is just the details of your deceased tenants report. It shows you the name, the person, and the date that they expired. In this case, it says not applicable, but this just means SSA does not have the date of death. They have not confirmed it, so they're dead. They just don't know when they died. And then EIV now tells you when EIV received the death information. So, you know, in this case, this person has been dead since at least we know, this data came into HUD April 27th. It's now September. They should not be on this report, okay? Remember, you're required to review and monitor and follow up on folks on the deceased tenants report every month. And these are no nonsense. What to do if someone is on the deceased tenants report? Confirm with the head of household, but if it's the head of household and it's the only person on there, then maybe call the next of kin or emergency contact person listed on the sheet. Update the family composition accordingly, because remember I mentioned the OIG audit report yesterday that OIG issued. HUD houses dead people. The way you remember not to house dead people is think of the movie Sixth Sense. Remember that little boy? I see dead people. HUD does not want to see any dead people on your report, okay? If you're Section 8, you need to ensure you discontinue HAP to the landlord if it's a single-member deceased household. They're no longer eligible for HAP for any month following the month in which the death occurred. Take any other action in accordance with your housing authority. If you're running a public housing program, you must follow your tenant-landlord laws. Just because they show up deceased on the tenant report does not give you the right to go in there and empty out the unit, because I assure you, you're going to get a phone call. You took my mother's belongings. You got to go through the due process, okay? Make sure you do that. Follow guidance under PIH Notice 2010-3. The goal is 0 deceased individuals. Now I want to talk briefly about the immigration report. This report is designed to assist housing authorities with effective monitoring on a monthly basis of individuals who are complying with the Social Security number requirement, okay? And one of the things I love about this immigration report, it's a fairly new report, and you probably haven't utilized it, but this will help you to identify individuals, A, who need to disclose a SSN, and also make sure you're doing proration of assistance for mixed families. Because if you're seeing somebody on the immigration report and their status is ineligible non-citizen, you need to make sure that you're applying proration. Now, granted, nationally, it's like 0.0025% of the families are mixed families, so you may not be impacted by this. Most of the families that we assist are actually fully assisted families. However, you do need to ensure that you are doing proration of assistance for mixed families where there's one or more individuals who do not have eligible citizenship or eligible non-citizenship status. And the report is going to help you to also kind of clean up some of your pending verifications of citizenship immigration status, because we have seen a kind of an influx where PHAs are coding people as pending verification under their citizenship status, and you need to make sure that if you've coded somebody as pending verification of citizenship, that you follow up with that. Also, you may have eligible citizens or eligible non-citizens where you have generated an alt ID. You will be able to follow up with these folks to say, hey, by the way, you're an eligible citizen or an eligible non-citizen, I need your Social Security number. And remember, under the new regulation 24 CFR Part 5, Section 216, all individuals are required to disclose their Social Security number. If it has, since the rule took effect January 31st, you should be actually basically following up with these folks at their next interim or annual reexamination and collecting that documentation, because as we mentioned yesterday, if they don't disclose the SSN, you have to terminate the assistance or eviction if it's public housing. Okay, and then also, your eligible non-citizens with an assigned alt ID, again, you'll want to follow up with them to make sure you're getting their Social Security number. If they're an eligible non-citizen, that means they're in this country legally and they have permanent residency, so they should have a Social Security number and you need to follow up with them. What to do if you see somebody on the report? Basically, you should be reviewing this report monthly and then contacting the families who show up on that report and collecting the necessary documentation with respect to the SSN. And then the next few slides just kind of outline for you what pending verification means with respect to the immigration report, and I kind of touched on that, so I'm not going to really run through that, but this is just an FYI for you. Your eligible citizen status, again, it's self-explanatory. And your eligible non-citizen, you may want to take a look at the eligible non-citizen because there's some confusion about that, but keep in mind, eligible non-citizens are individuals who are not U.S. citizens but have lawful permanent residency here in the United States and typically have an I-551 or a green card. Okay, so this slide here shows you, these are HUD URLs that I encourage you to bookmark because a lot of information on those web pages are valuable to you, and so if you bookmark those pages, you will always have access to them because it's really hard to maneuver within the HUD website because it's so huge. So these links here, and these are also listed in PIH Notice 2010-19. So I know they're hard to read, but these are the important links, and of course, PIH.RHIIP.TA@HUD.gov is our PIH EIV Technical Assistance Mailbox geared to helping you with successful implementation of the EIV system. So what I want to do now is have a question and answer session, ask HUD, questions, comments, observations, and unfortunately we're not accepting telephone calls from our viewers via webcast. However, during this segment, and it is actually 4:30 right now, we will try to answer questions that have come via email, hudtv@hud.gov. However, do understand that if you send a question to hudtv@hud.gov and we do not answer the question during this segment, you will receive a written response to your email inquiry. After today, do not send email messages or EIV inquiries to hudtv@hud.gov because that will only delay my ability to respond to your question, because what will happen is the HUD TV folks will have to reroute your inquiry to the PIH-RHIIP mailbox. So we want to make sure that we respond to your inquiries in a timely manner. So any questions from the studio audience before we go to the emails? Okay. You guys were here yesterday, thank you. He's saying, great job, great job. I love to bring in the housing authorities for a live studio audience because it creates an environment of synergy that allows for us to share ideas, experiences, because, while there are overarching, HUD policies and requirements, PHAs have a lot of discretion when it comes to adapting policies, and sometimes a policy that works in Topeka, Kansas won't work in DC, or, a policy that works in Texas won't work in Iowa. So, but it's good to share the ideas and, to meet one another. So, I appreciate the folks that have traveled from all over. I mean, we had folks from Puerto Rico, Texas, Indiana, Ohio. Of course, our neighboring DC Housing Authority, we always appreciate you all coming in for training. And as I mentioned, with this training, we will be offering a certificate of completion. However, we will not make that available to you to be requested until we have completed the January 28, 2010 EIV certificates, which are still being processed. And so the deadline to request your certificate for January 28th is October 30th. If you have already submitted your request, please do not send it again. As of today, I have 1,814 requests. So I got 10, I think it was 10 or 12 more from yesterday when we aired. So you will get your certificate. Once I physically open your request and determine that it is a valid request, you will receive a written confirmation that you will receive your certificate by a targeted date. Right now, we are processing requests that came in during the month of April. So if you send a request in May, June, July, August, you will not have received a response from me because I haven't gotten to your email yet. I'm on April. Okay, we have a question.
Yes, good afternoon. How you doing?
Good afternoon.
Could you review again the timeline for when new users will be able to access this system? That's the first part. And the second part is, does HUD have a plan in place in the foreseeable future for those of us who do eligibility to also be able to use the entire EIV system? I know we're going to have usage of the PIC piece, which reviews the previous debts owed from another housing authority. But I think the upfront UIV piece will help with some of the discrepancies from the short period of time generally, depends on the program, from
right.
a
And
family being deemed eligible to lease up.
I definitely agree with you that if EIV was available up front before the folks were admitted into the program, it would save a lot of administrative burden. At this time, PIC does not collect information on applicants, and we still continue to explore the possibility of expanding PIC to accept application or applicant information. It's a very challenging situation because most folks' waiting lists are so very long, and so we don't want to expose anyone's personal identifying information for extended periods of time, and so we've been kicking around ideas about how to maybe allow housing authorities, based on your analysis of how your waiting list is moving, to say submit 5/8 for applicants who are going to be housed within the next 6 months, to be able to send those in, and then, after 6 months, we'll wipe out the information. But that's something we're definitely exploring. To answer the first part of your question, now, are you asking in the content of when the new version of EIV will be available, or are you talking about the context of actual physical new users actually gaining access to the system?
Physical new users.
Okay, so your new users who need to gain access to the system, it's a two-step process, and the first step starting at your local agency, where those users are identified as being new EIV system users completing the HUD form 52676. That form is then sent to your local HUD office, who will then approve your access. And typically, if you've sent the form to your local HUD office and you haven't heard back after a week, you should really follow up with them to make sure that they received your form, because approving your access literally takes maybe 5 minutes, if that, because the actual approval process is a 3-second process. But going through the paper, the form to make sure that everything is in order, that takes, a few minutes. So do you have a scenario where you all have done the forms, submitted the forms, and you just haven't heard back? Or your agency hasn't completed the form?
No, I think our forms have recently been submitted. We didn't do them? Oh, okay. Well,
so if your forms have been submitted, if they haven't been submitted, make sure that you either fax, email, or regular mail your forms over to the EIV coordinator in your local HUD office. We have the second attachment to the instructions of the EIV Access Authorization Form has the list of all of your EIV coordinators, so as well as the address and the phone number and the fax number. So you can always follow up with them just to confirm once they've received it that they will grant your access. It's a very simplistic process.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one of the things I encourage our field offices that when you have new users requesting access, if you could all expeditiously process those. I have heard a couple horror stories where folks say their forms have been sitting at the local HUD office for 6 months. But if that's the case, you really need to pick up, if it's been longer than a couple weeks, really you should pick up the phone and say, hey, Janet, I sent my form. Did you get it? What's the status? Because remember, you're required to utilize the system, and HUD is monitoring. And like I said, 98% of the housing authorities have access to the, to the system and are utilizing the system. So do keep in mind, it's Friday, September 24th. So tonight, while you all are partying and doing the Macarena, the new code for EIV is being deployed tonight. So when you come to work on Monday morning, there will be a new version of EIV. And remember, yesterday I disclosed to you all that you all will be prompted as EIV system users to verify your awareness of the security requirements. So you'll have a little short 10-question survey. And I'm going to tell you right now, all the questions on that survey, you can answer them based on the training that we did yesterday, which contains security awareness training component, or you can go online to the EIV webpage and pull down the EIV security guide, okay? The questions are very simplistic, so I expect to see everybody get 100%, but if you get more than one wrong, you can't get access to the system until you get 90%. So we have an email question. Care for 4 Kids is a program designed to help parents with daily care in Connecticut. Care for Kids will report at the end of the year to the IRS and SSA. However, that information does not appear in EIV. Are there any plans to make that accessible to EIV? I am not aware of any plans to have income for Care for Kids, and I'm assuming that this is some type of foster care or kin gap type benefit amount that is paid. Unfortunately, right now, I do know that we are pursuing additional income sources in EIV, particularly more up-to-date income information from the Talix Corporation, also known as the Work Number. We have found a couple databases that may be of service to HUD, which we will be meeting actually next week on the 29th to discuss the possibility of accessing a database that has pension information, believe child support, welfare benefits, and some other income sources. However, at face value, it's with computer matching, remember, it's never a be-all to end-all, and I know the database does not have every single state in it, so, but again, we are going to explore that. Will HUD move to include child, I just answered that, to include child support income verifications for PHAs? We are exploring that possibility. We seek to look for national repositories of data, and so as of right now, the only database that we have found is a federal case registry database. Does not have exactly what you're looking for, but it does have child support case information. So if HUD could, let you know that there might be a potential child support case out there pending, you could follow up with your local child support office to see if there's actual monies being paid. So we are looking into that. Okay, so thanks for all those questions that have come in. I think we have like one more, and then we'll probably go on and wrap up. We're just waiting for the technology. Okay, if the verification fails because of the date of birth, the owner agent is to change that date of birth on the 50058 to match the EIV report and inform the tenant to resolve the discrepancy with Social Security. Why is the failed verification for DOB treated differently than the failed verification for SSN? Can the OA document the file with verification against the birth certificate? Well, first of all, since you're using terminology O/A, owner agent, that suggests to me that you're not a PIH program administrator, but a multifamily housing program administrator, which utilizes the 50059. And I am not in a position to provide guidance with respect to the multifamily housing program. However, I will answer the question in the context of PIH rental assistance programs. And our guidance has always been, with respect to Social Security numbers, is a whole different ballgame. A Social Security number and a date of birth are two significantly different data fields. The date of birth, granted, if the birth certificate says one thing but SSA record says another, remember what I said earlier, if any one of those personal identifiers does not match, you don't get any income information. So to facilitate the housing authority in obtaining information, we want you to use what SSA has reported that is on their records, but send the client to SSA to resolve the disparity between what is reported on the 5/8. And it may be that, you had a birth certificate that said May 12th, but SSA record says 5/21. But we want to make sure that SSA records get updated, because if SSA records don't get updated, you never get income data. So as a workaround, the notion is to use the EIV report, which basically is giving you information that's on file with SSA so that you can get the data. On the flip side, a Social Security number, yes, evidence of the Social Security number is a Social Security card. However, there are some instances where individuals may have been issued another Social Security number. It could be an instance where there is a legitimate administrative error with the SSN, and so that has to be resolved with SSA as well. So that is the situation with that. For our live studio audience, as you're leaving, please stop in the back, because we do have your certificate of completions for this training session. If you were at yesterday's training session and we did not have a certificate for you, I have generated that certificate so you can pick that up for yesterday's as well. And if you are in our live studio audience and we do not have a certificate for you, if you're willing to stay, I will be more than happy to generate that for you before you leave. But it's 4:45, and I know everybody here in DC is trying to beat the rush hour traffic, and I have a date with my husband tonight, so I think my husband would be really excited if we ended at 4:45. But of course, I am always accessible. I told my husband when he married me, I said, you know, honey, you got to share me with HUD and the PHA community. And he said, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of sharing. So, you know, I got to get out of the doghouse because I was working on training materials last night at 11 p.m. So I really appreciate you coming out to this training. I appreciate you tuning in. And may I say, to our new team of producers and our team that actually puts these webcasts together and puts them all together, Bob and Edwin, and there's so many names, I just don't know them all, but you guys are the bomb, okay? Because I was so excited to go online and see that yesterday's webcast is posted. I am ecstatic. And so I want to say thank you to the technical team here, all of our camera crews. You guys have done a bang-up job, and I really appreciate that service. So housing authorities that missed yesterday, or we had, you know, technical difficulties, you saw me dancing on the screen but couldn't hear me, the webcast from yesterday is posted. And so if yesterday's was posted today, so I'm guessing that you guys are going to have today's posted by Monday or Tuesday. So, but of course, as always, they're giving me the thumbs up. They're like, yes, Nicole. So I am so excited. So I will, once those webcasts for today is available, we will send out a message to the subscribers of the PIH mailing list, and we will include the link to that video as well as the training materials, the handouts for this training session, and I do apologize for not having that information available to you. So, without further ado, I'd like to close out the session, say thank you, PHAs, both in the studio audience, my PHA community out there watching. Keep doing a great job. You are fabulous, and HUD is doing great things because of you. So, Nicole Faison from HUD signing out from Washington, D.C. Have a great weekend. Happy Friday. Thank you.